Oh, gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Or you can scoot in here a little bit more.
Basically, just want to, just recap last weekend essentially, and
Okay.
then talk about the vehicle and the transition from two-wheel drive trucks to the mod. And
All right.
So nothing too, just.
We can do it.
And then whatever random questions that pop up.
Sure.
I like it. You know we're going to get some
Oh yeah.
interesting ones.
Yeah.
So you've got people coming on.
Oh yeah. Yep. We're already up to 90, 150.
Nice.
So.
Really?
I
Wow.
like it.
So.
I like to see who pops on there.
Yeah. It's interesting. So.
You've done great with this.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special Wednesday night edition of Let's Grow Pulling here in Effingham, Illinois, at the What Smokin' Promotions headquarters, is what we call it. And we have very special guests joining us, Craig and Ashley Corzine. Craig and Ashley, you guys had an amazing weekend at Louisville. I mean, I don't think you probably could have asked for a better weekend, I would think.
No, to double down like that, just unbelievable. You spend so much time getting ready and, preparation for any other pull for all pullers. I mean, nobody preps for a single pull like they do for Louisville. And it's always great to get back down there and see everybody because, everybody's excited. It's been probably September since you pulled and maybe September since you saw everybody. And last time you ran the vehicle, and we all go to banquets, there in December. But just a lot of time and preparation, and for us, it was a change in the vehicle. We, as most know, we built the vehicle or started on as soon as we got home from Louisville last year in the two-wheel drives. We got home and took the engines out and sent the trucks their ways and put them in some fantastic families' hands, and we were already working on the tractor, but it was we did not bring the chassis home until tax day. And last year was a pretty tough year for farming, but it was good that the spring was late. They enabled us to work on the tractor, so are the tires right, or is the gear right, or is the engines, or is that setup going to be happy? Because we had 1471s on it, as most know. So we felt like we had a pretty good tune-up for 1471s, being that's what we ran in the trucks for so long. But when you put multiples on, that changes things, and you have to change your tune-up accordingly. So, so for everything to come together like it did, and it's kind of like, wow, love it when the plan comes together.
Yeah, I think wow is definitely the word for us.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before we came on live just how, this is really your first two passes ever with three motors on. Mm-hmm. But let's just kind of take a step back and just kind of want to talk, both of you, just briefly, your pulling history. You guys have a long pulling history.
Yes.
For those that maybe don't know that are watching on Facebook here.
So I'll start because most people know I was a Kester, and Larry Kester was my dad. He was a legendary I think that's safe to say now.
It is.
Legendary,
Yes.
legendary mini modified puller. Started way back when I was little. He had a farm tractor accident when I was 3 years old, and that's over 30 years ago. I'm giving away my age. And shortly after his accident, some of his buddies wanted to get him back, going again. Like, hey, what's going to make you pick up the pieces and move forward? And decided to get into mini modified pulling. And with the help of a brother-in-law and his brother, my two uncles, they built Dad's first tractor and geared up, fabbed up the brake system, and he was off to the races from there. So lots of years of pulling state level stuff and region level stuff, and then way back in the SRO and TNT days, he's
definitely pulled in some quite unique venues, and it's really cool seeing them on YouTube pop up now.
Yeah.
Just how far he got a pull in from some awesome crowds and venues.
Yeah,
so
without a doubt.
I could imagine as a kid.
Yes.
What it was like for you.
We traveled everywhere, and what is funny is I tell my kids all the time now how rotten they are, because we for years traveled all over the country, literally. Like, now we kind of stay, a little more in the center of the country. When I was a kid, we went to Syracuse, New York. We went to Houston, Texas. We pulled in Orlando, Florida. I mean, we were all over the place in an extended cab pickup truck.
Yeah, there was no fancy
right.
toter home that you
right.
guys were in.
Hotels, and most of the time, just whatever one we could find. And so, that was my childhood in pulling. And then as I got older, I enjoyed the pulling. Dad gave me the opportunity to drive when I was 21, 22, somewhere in that time frame. And I loved it, but I wasn't ready to put the time and effort into working on it. My brother really was. And so that's how it kind of evolved to Adam driving Dad's once they built the second Mini. And when that happened, I sort of went the social TV route, and Greg Randall asked me, oh gosh, I can't even remember what year it was, but I did it for, I was...
Were you on the first season of our...
I wasn't on the first season, but
okay.
I think it might have been the second or third.
Yeah.
And I did, I was a co-anchor, pit commentator, whatever, for 8 years, I believe. And when Craig and I got together, and we built his first truck, I still was actually doing the announcing and commentating. And when he came to me after we had our last baby, and he said, I think we're going to build a second truck for you. And I thought, exactly how are we going to balance all this? 4 kids, me doing the TV thing, you already pulling. And it sort of evolved to Greg and I and Doc and the Y songs. We all talked, and it made the most sense for me to kind of bow out gracefully, not being that way. I wouldn't be a puller involved in the TV thing. And although that makes for a good storyline, there's only so far you can take that. So,
and there's only so much time for you guys when you're at an event.
Exactly.
Because all the pre-production that you'd have to do would take away probably from any type of what you guys are doing. 2 trucks.
Exactly, 2 trucks and 4 children. Yeah. So, and one of them was a little bitty baby. So, it just made the most sense for us to take that step. And so, our first year with 2 trucks was when I first started. I drove for a whole season. Would have been in 2015.
Yes.
2015, and we kept the trucks up until last year. I loved the truck pulling. I really truthfully did. I thought it was very much a driver's class, and I enjoyed the challenge, but we really found with my truck, and maybe my driving, I don't know, he won't probably admit it because he's a good husband, but I had a lot of like really high highs and really low lows. So that was a little frustrating, but I mean, you can't hardly beat taking home a Louisville trophy and a Bowling Green trophy.
Yes.
So I'm thankful for the trucks. And then, of course, everyone knows that last year we built the Light Unlimited. After Craig and Steve had a couple years with the Money Pit Light Unlimited, we built our own. And Craig thought I would be okay at driving it, and I did all right, I think. I don't know.
Going from one motor to two motors.
And just the one thing I think maybe helped me the most with the tractor was that it is literally a big mini modified. I mean, it truthfully is. More horsepower than weight, and that makes it a little volatile like a mini does.
Yep.
So I had a little bit of an idea what it was going to, how it was going to react. But it still owned me a few times.
I mean, I think for anyone to get behind the seats of any modified, whether it be the minis all the way up to unlimiteds,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's quite the undertaking right there, I think,
Sure.
personally.
Sure.
So,
And I started out with mod. Back that's how I got started, was going with Steve and Tommy Bollinger, and we built Steve's, went with them for years and worked on the tractors, and Steve and I, with help of some guys at home, built Steve's first triple, and that was 2002. And we were campaigning tractors, Grand National Circuit, Regional National Circuit, State of Illinois, still had a ton of Illinois hooks, which was fantastic for me. So we got about halfway through that year, and Steve says, look, Tommy is really busy at the fertilizer plant. It's like, he can't make these pulls. I'm going to put you in the seat. Of course, it's like, whoa, getting behind a twin Allison. And he said, no, he goes, I'll never forget him telling me, he's like, you'll be fine. You'll know what's going to happen because you work on them. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. He's right. And so that was the first time I drove, was in '02. Actually got that triple tractor its first win in Sandwich, Illinois, at a mod pull up there. So you know how it is. It's addictive. You get going, and then did that for years, and when Ash and I got together, started helping her dad, and which was truly rewarding, to go, but was new for me too. I had been around V8s a lot like that, and her dad really taught me a lot about the Aries then that evolved into the MBRs, and we just one day, we were kind of homeless. We were staying in, we were sleeping in her dad's trailer a lot.
On an air mattress.
On an air mattress. And, everybody likes to have their own space when they go pulling. Whether it's the hotel room or the motorhome or the tent or whatever. And I think the tent thing and trailer got a little old, so we decided we had started accumulating some parts. And, of course, some of our best friends, the Nelsons, and I'd gone with Jared a little bit pulling, and Jeremy also. Mm-hmm. And we thought, maybe that's a nice fit for us. We could, the two-wheel drive thing is just so easy to go pulling. You can pull every night of the week in Illinois.
I was just going to say,
anywhere.
The state of Illinois on its own. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we're going to put this investment into a piece of equipment, yeah, we want to be able to go. We're goers. We want to go do, and it was a perfect fit for us. And whether it was back mod pulling or the two-wheel drive when we built it in 2012, it was you can learn so much, because the thing about state Illinois, you can get on the best of best tracks,
yep,
and you can get on really bad tracks, and it really teaches you how to be a puller with your piece of equipment.
Yep.
Yeah, and
how many passes
because
did we make that first year?
Oh my goodness, we were putting 40 runs a year on the truck.
In one season, on one year.
So we learned a lot, and of course we couldn't have done it without Jeremy being right there, and Jared and their dad Dale helped us a lot with the truck.
John.
And John Mumaw.
They kind of took us in like and we were a little extension of their team.
Sure.
Yeah, and Adam and Larry were helping us on the motor side of things. So everything was kind of starting to flow,
and the small tires.
So
that really was a change,
coming together.
too.
So we come out the next year, and we had a couple hiccups early, but then we caught stride mid-season. Here we are, second year out. We won the Indy deal on PPL circuit. We then went to Altamont, Illinois, and we got third there, the PPL Champions Tour deal. Then we load up and go to Bowling Green, Ohio. We win the ring. It's like, holy mackerel, all this, we're rolling. Things are going. We couldn't do anything wrong, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so, you know how it is when you build a vehicle like that, and we had all used parts. And so then you have a little success, so then you buy a spare engine. Mm-hmm. And then you buy another set of tires. And then you put a little better rear end in it. and then you put a little this, a little that, and
So
next
you might
thing
as well have
know,
another truck.
Yeah. So we would literally
All the pieces just start going together.
all the pieces. So we ran the next season, and we went to Las Vegas. They did a documentary on Larry that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I had already talked to Terry Jostock about buying the second truck, and literally, and it was a little different than mine. So I had full intention of buying that truck from him and setting it up for me to run, and we would sell the other one. And it was basically send our used parts down the road, for lack of better terms.
Just
And
update a little bit.
So
Like
update,
trading a car, basically.
and not that they were wrong, but so anyway, we get to Las Vegas, and it was late one night, and we're talking with all the Shell folks, and I made a comment about, oh yeah, we got the second truck, I'm going to put ash in it, and they said,
It was Vegas. We
And-
might have had a few drinks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
they lit up, the Shell folks.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
The Shell folks, and I said this kind of off the cuff, and the Shell folks said, that is the best idea we've heard yet. I'm like, oh
Well,
man.
and then Dad heard us talking about it,
And,
was
and
like,
Larry's like, yeah.
He always wanted
He's
to
like, I want to
see
see
me.
my little girl in the truck.
Yeah.
And I walked over then to Ash, and I said, I think I got us in trouble.
and I looked at him because at the time we had let's see, Raylan was born in May, and that was in November, so we had a 6-month-old, and he's talking about having this truck for the next season, and I was like, what? Exactly how do you think this is going to happen? But
So we did. I brought it home, and it worked out. We put it together with a lot of help, and boy, things took off, and that year was a struggle. You know, I built that truck identical to mine, and I built it up for me to drive it, and that was not that stupid me for thinking that I could just put this piece together and say, here you go, and it's going to react the exact same as if I were in the seat. And that, I don't care what the vehicle is, it's you are one with the vehicle, yeah. So it changes, and it did, and there was frustrating. There were some hard conversations at the toter, and
a few tears even.
Yep. And Chapel Hill, Tennessee, a lot of things. Chapel Hill's pretty monumental for our careers, obviously. Absolutely. For a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. But Chapel Hill, Tennessee, I'll never forget. Friday night, she was dead last, and she was really upset. And Trent D. Clerk came over the next morning, and I'm at wit's end, and he said, "We need to do something different." He's like, she is not comfortable in that truck. And I'm thinking, oh, come on, man. I know I've sat in that truck a million times. It's great. He goes, that's not great for her. So we came back there. We cut the throttle off of it. We moved it. We moved the brake pedals. We changed the seat. She goes out and lays down this monster on that night. And I mean, it was one of the best things that happened in our career. Because it just turned everything around. It was kind of
a pivotal situation.
Yeah, it was.
A pivotal moment. And for me, too, because I was losing confidence.
I was going to say,
yes.
I literally was starting to think, maybe this is not the right fit. Maybe I'm not a driver. Maybe I need to continue to be a crew person or go back to doing the TV or whatever. But when that happened, and literally I could hear the entire crowd over the engine running in the cab of the truck, I mean, that was a really amazing feeling. And that's when I think me as a driver and my confidence, that really did help a lot.
It did. And so we continued with that. We continued to run the Grand National. We continued to run a lot of Illinois. And some PPL also.
And even sometimes we would go just so that I could
make we would
laps.
just take one truck and let me drive.
Make laps.
And we ended up buying what ended up being my red truck. We bought that from Jared and Bethany. Mm-hmm. Which was a Terry Jostock truck that they bought, that then we bought from them. And we did that, and we sent my blue truck down the road, and that year winds are hard to come by, and we were having a really good year. Went to Bowling Green, and we went 1-2 on Saturday night in the pull-off.
Yeah.
You talk about just unbelievable. In a class of, 60 of us?
It's
64.
Like
holy mackerel, you know? So
how many was in the pull-off?
5 of us.
Five in the pull-off.
Yeah. And we were the last two.
I mean, nobody was a slouch. I mean, Reitzel's, Jeff Reitzel, Renee Theobald, Jesse Petro, and Craig and I. And luckily, he had been early in the class and spun a rear main. And between you, my brother, Toby, my dad, whoever else, went back and
Put main
literally
bearings in it.
rebuilt the engine.
Got the truck back up just in time for her to run. She was late in the class.
It was a
She
mess.
makes the gate, drag it around. I make the gate again. It's like, so,
That was crazy.
yeah, so then to
Crazy,
fast
crazy.
forward, we missed out on a couple points deals. We ran then the white truck with R2 of Terry Joe stocks last year, as everybody knows. We put Steve in it at Louisville, and he drove.
did great.
He did fantastic. He drove it at Bowling Green. He drove it a couple other times, and he drove my red truck a couple times. Got his feet wet, and he found out what noise was all about. But in all that, we one night, and after this year at Bowling Green, we're feeling pretty good about things, and I had accumulated some more parts, and we had a couple engines sitting there, and we were at the ITPA banquet, and I just made a comment to Steve. I said, "Hey, why don't we throw a couple of mine on yours and try this light unlimited deal? That looks like a pretty cool class." And oh yeah, well he called me 2 days later. He said, "Are you serious about that?"
Yes.
I'm like, "Yeah, man." I'm like, "We got the engine sitting here. Why not? I mean, it'd be fun. It'd be a fun class." And he can't. He goes, "I'm coming over." He goes, "I want to have a meeting with you and Ash." And we sat down and over a couple drinks, and he said, he goes, I'm my pulling career is on the other side. He goes, "I'm struggling a little bit." He goes, I know where things are headed, and the potential to build more horsepower with the Allisons is not there, and I want to have some fun." I said, "Well, let's try it." So we took his money pit tractor and put our two engines on it, and fantastic partnership, rekindled his fire, and now he's all in. He's buying engines from my brother-in-law now also, and that led us to, like we were talking earlier about building a tractor. Really, in most designs was for Ash, but we knew that with Steve doing kind of
Ultimate
his
goal.
thing, that the goal for that tractor would be for her to drive it in the 2-engine deal, and I would drive it with 3.
We always knew, and I especially always really wanted to work to get back to the mod thing. That has always been, I mean, it's kind of like a mini for me. Not that I really wanted to own one, but there's a special place in your heart for where you start.
Yeah.
And a mini is so much work. My brother is gonna be he's gonna be a huge trooper. He's gonna try and campaign all 3 tractors.
Wow.
Something cool that's gonna happen is there might be another driver, not me, but I'll let them give that away when it's time.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
But there's to be another driver a little bit, and I'm pretty pumped to see what he does with that too. But like I said, I really wanted to see Craig get back to the mod because that's just where his heart was. You knew it the whole time. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and what a week. And we just walked around.
What was your expectations coming into Louisville, like with the third engine? What were you kind of thinking heading into Wednesday night of last week?
Yeah, we wanted to make a good A to B run.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. I mean, of course, now everybody knows we had the Metos tires on. We got our first set right before Enderley, and we put them on Steve's tractor. And Steve got a couple sets, we got a couple sets. So we got the first set, put them on Steve's, and it was a game changer. We knew that it's like, wow, that's going to help.
It literally flew.
It is going to help. But that 2-engine deal, we struggle for front end weight. So you cross that line, and just like the Alki Super guys, especially the light ones, mini rods, if you might have to suffer a little drawbar. Luckily for us, our tractors, we can get pretty heavy on the front comparatively. So we didn't know. We thought, okay, we got this brand new set of Metos tires sitting here. What's that going to do? Well, guys are telling us that they're changing the gear to go with those. So what do we need to do with that? Are these engines, like we were talking earlier, yeah, we've got a good 1471 tune-up for a 2-wheel drive truck and brother-in-law with a mini rod, but what's that going to do when you put 3 of them on there? So, and is the thing going to go straight? Because they don't. I mean, we saw other tractors down there not go straight, and so...
Unfortunately for me, I honestly think the tractor likes having 3 on it better than 2.
It is.
I tell him that.
Well, it was. I jumped off of it, and I told her, of course, everybody knew I was cramming the brake pretty hard Wednesday night, and I left a couple fuel lines loose. Luckily, that wasn't major catastrophe, and of course, everything I say is, I do 99% of the work on that tractor myself. Ash has so much she does in the background with the kids and just getting everything ready to go and whatever. But that tractor, me working on the shop is my deal. But I always say, if something goes south, there is nobody I can blame but myself. Well, sure enough, I am the one that left some lines loose, and luckily it wasn't bad. But so we made some changes. We
he
made
did
some
not sleep.
Yes, we got up early. We didn't get to really celebrate. We were ecstatic of the win Wednesday night. I mean, my goodness, like, wow, this thing did go A to B. Yeah, we have an issue with an engine. It was going right. We're feeling really good about it, but we're not. You don't want to be overconfident either. Like, we got some things we need to fix here. So we spent all day Thursday, and Steve was right there with me, and Scotty Jennings, and Tommy Bollinger ended up out there, and Lane, and brother-in-law Adam, Ash. It was cold. It was cold down there, and it kept getting colder as day went on.
Yeah, Thursday was.
We had the pan off that one engine, checking rods, and we're just going all through this thing. So anyway, long story short,
I was the gopher, so I stayed warm.
But we made some changes, and then Saturday night, for that thing just to be on a string like it was, it's like, wow, wow.
Yep.
It's sometimes the plan does work out.
Yeah.
Someone, well, you might have mentioned it, but. Yeah, you did. The top 3 chassis were built by Brett Berg, and Brett said that
back in Broadbent.
Gosh, how impressive is that? How cool!
Brett said to me, we were back there having a drink afterwards, because after, I don't know if everybody knows it, but after you run and do Winter Circle, they take top 3 back to Broadbent, and you have to weigh back, and you do a fuel sample. So they do that, and they shove it off. So they shove you off to the side. So there was Ricky and our tractor and Brett were all lined up, and Brett says, isn't this something? He goes, this is all my old stuff, beat me up. And I don't know if anybody knows the story on our tractor, but Brett built that tractor brand new up at Brad Corporal's. And they took that tractor to Farm Show, and he had seen how the Money Pit tractor had worked for us the year before, our first year with 2 engines on it. And he wanted that same kind of thing. So he had Brad build one the same way, and went down there and it broke a spindle. So it went right back to Brad's, and they had tried a quicker way that was easier to machine that didn't work out. So they went back the old way, and they fixed that rear end up just like Money Pit tractor. Does real well. Well, as everybody knows, sometimes weak points show up in other places. Poor Brett goes to Toma, Wisconsin, breaks her rear end. It locked up so hard that it literally tried to rip the housing out of the chassis.
The whole rear end out of the tractor.
Yeah.
So he takes it back to Brad's. They cut the whole rear end out of that thing and put a brand new one in. Well, then the poor guy goes to Bowling Green later that year, breaks rear end, has a huge fire show. Right? He breaks rear end, overspeeds the engines, knocks rear end off. We already had been talking to Brad about building a brand new one and had the chips kind of getting lined up. And Brett called me that Sunday, and he says, hey, we need to do something here and work together. He goes, I'm either going to take this thing home and I'm going to cut this rear end back out of it and put the bigger one in it, or I can give you a really good deal. You can take this thing and I'll just start over. And really, so it worked out fantastic. So he left there. He got done, and his farming season was a little late. But so that put Brad in motion on his brand new one that he's running currently. But so Brad cut the up at Modern Machine. They cut all the motor mounts off, cut the gearbox mounts off.
We do run a different setup.
And Derek up there built a new gearbox. And so we slid the gearbox forward, because obviously 3 versus 5. Slid the gearbox forward.
Well, originally 2, so it's up closer for the 2 as well.
Well, yeah. And so anyway, we brought it home, and that was tax day. We were talking about earlier. That was tax day. We brought it home, and we took it right straight to Trent D. Clerk's shop, and Trent helped us. We made a front weight box for it, and just started building from there. And plan came together.
Now, did you catch the question about husband-wife duo?
I actually do know of one more. Yes, I did see that, Nick. I'm sorry if I say it wrong. I think it's Stepik.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, the other team, husband and wife that I know of that have finished first and second at Bowling Green are Larry and Lisa Peterson.
Yep.
With the ProFab 4-wheel drive trucks. So
Jared and Bethany were close.
Jared and Bethany this past year got first and third, but I think the only 2 to finish first and second.
Lisa Peterson told me that as they were dragging me off the track. She gave me a huge hug inside the truck. She's like, "You're the only. Now you guys are the only other couple that's gone 1-2."
And of course, some of our greatest friends too. Love them to pieces.
They're fantastic.
So really cool to Someone just asked what happened to Dirt Slinger.
They're probably wondering about I think he's just having rear end. It looked like rear end issues and possibly got pulled off the brakes.
Sometimes the track, if you
catch a track,
sometimes
he set the sled. It looked like he was maybe half in and half out of what we call the groove.
Bill has backed up more than we've all gone forward.
Oh yeah,
he is a fantastic puller, but occasionally you can catch a groove that you really kind of can't control. And the one thing about that right side, it's either really good or really bad.
It seems like you could probably get like one pass. It seems like someone will always get, if you're lucky enough to get that one pass down that right side.
Well, did everybody notice? Then the two-wheel drives were all out of there. And even Jeremy and I were all talking. I couldn't believe how bad the track looked when you back up the sled.
I about rolled an ankle when I walked out there.
So now we're all talking back in Broadbent because the two-wheel drives aren't over there yet. He's like, "Man, you got to tell me this is unbelievable." I said, "Well, if the track would look like that, if we're pulling out there with a truck, we're saying, oh man, we got a big problem here.
Yeah.
Tractor, big tires, big power.
You have a little bit better chance of getting through that.
Correct. That you burn through that.
Yeah.
And again, and this is speculation on my part, but Bill having the 4 engines and us having 3, that allowed us to have just a little bit more front end weight, a little more movable weight. So that could have also played a part in not being able to turn it as well. It just, things like that just happen.
But they may get it home and they may find something to
Yeah.
They may find a planetary, which happens,
That does happen, especially if we have a motor go down.
Mm-hmm.
He had an engine go down on Wednesday, back right engine on the truck, if you're sitting in the seat, and they rebuilt that. Now, sometimes that'll cause driveline issues, that'll cause planetary issues, because breakage then puts pressure on everything else.
Yeah, so what was... But speaking of breakage, there was a lot of breakage on that Wednesday night.
Yeah, there was.
What was your thought when with Ricky? It was Ricky's tractor, right? With the drive shaft.
Yeah,
like
Ricky Long's tractor. Yeah. So that's a pretty unfortunate deal. But that is
like as a driver,
it is,
and someone that would be possibly sitting in the stands. What was kind of going through your guys' head?
It's easy to Monday morning quarterback that deal.
Yeah,
but. No kidding. That's something that we've talked about in the past and I thought a lot about. I'm like, man, what would happen if a driveline went out in the crowd? Man, that would be catastrophic. So, luckily, thank the good Lord that nobody was hurt. Mm-hmm. It could have been a million times worse.
And a very seasoned puller for it to happen.
Ricky is such a great driver. So he was on top on his game.
Yep.
And kudos to all the Fairboard guys down there and all the safety guys. So I don't know if many people knew or noticed that they pulled. The Fairboard came in. They had a meeting with the tractor pulling committee, and they said, "Look, this is an issue. Would you please go ask these guys to all put tethers on their drive lines?"
So we did.
So, all respect in the world to them. They went and got us all the material to do that. Those guys, the Fair Board and the Tractor Pull Committee, they all went, got all the supplies, came back Saturday morning and said, guys, this is what we're thinking. And, of course, Larry Richwine was involved. NTPA, they talked. And Jonathan Mears with BPL. They all got together. John Blaney, of course, John's got so much experience with the monster truck thing and all that stuff. So they all got together and said, this may not be the final answer for summer of 2020,
but it'll fix the problem right now.
This will get us going. Now, the chances of that happening, how many of us have all seen a mod tractor go down the track, right? So this is a 1 in a bazillion kind of thing, but that's all it takes, too. Yep. We don't want that 1 in a bazillion.
Learn from the one.
So it's like everything else. That's why we have tethers on our blowers, so they don't, when we lift blowers, because we saw a couple of blowers get lifted down there, and guess what? They stay right there. So heaven forbid that ever happen again. There's going to be safety things in place, and we're currently talking to some drag racers on what they use to keep their drive lines in check if that were to ever happen. So there's going to be some new rules coming forward, but just couldn't be luckier of a bad situation.
Yeah, truthfully.
And I don't know how many people know, but the gearbox actually locked up, and that's what started it, and then that drive shaft wants out of there, right? I mean, which is surprising.
The amount of force that is.
Right. It's surprising to us that it doesn't just shell out the gears. I guess that's a testament to how good Brad and Derek and all the guys at Modern Machine are making their gears, and Craig Sage at SCS. I mean, those gears are tough because they didn't give up. They just locked up. So that drive shaft wants out of there, and the gears don't give up. So now it literally twisted the input shaft and the bearing assembly all out of it, ripped it out of the back of the can. So that's something. Those are aluminum cans, which we get inspected every other year. But that's probably going to be an issue going forward if we need to start looking to go to all titanium, which some run. That might be an issue.
Sometimes you see, like, especially our gearboxes, everyone has to run it's called a blanket.
Yep.
And that is basically like a Teflon fiber. And there's nothing getting through it.
It's all Kevlar, and that came from a misfortune. There was a gearbox that came apart, and they said, hey, so that's why we are lucky to have the pulling organizations that we do to run with. They're on top of it, and sometimes rules are a reaction, but as we build more power, other things show up.
Yep.
So
things that they would have probably never even thought
that's
of
right.
10 years ago.
Exactly. So you have to, you can say, well, it was reactionary, but yeah, it was, but kudos for them for being on top of it.
When fans
Yes.
could have gotten seriously
Correct.
injured
Yep.
in that deal.
Correct.
And we don't
Or
want
the driver,
people to
or the driver,
Yeah, anybody.
or the flag guy right
Yep.
there,
As
Mike Ott.
pullers, we certainly don't want to put ourselves or anyone else in harm's way. Our kids are sitting in the stands. So, people should definitely know that was very fluke. Again, Ricky and Keith Long have phenomenal equipment. And for it to happen to them is not a good thing. But like I said, Ricky was on top of it. He shut the engines off immediately, so it wouldn't shuck anything else. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Nothing bad happened out of the deal. And that's a testament to both organizations and all of these places that put on polls like Louisville, that they're on top of it. The minute something like that happens, it's going to be
we've seen that a few years ago in the mini class when
Yes.
Camille Shelton.
with the driveline there.
And sometimes you have to learn from those kind of things happening.
Yep. It's a motorsport. There's risk there. That's why we have the safety equipment we do, and that's why we're always looking. My goodness, who would have thought Ryan Newman?
I literally
look at
was
that.
just thinking
look at the wreck that we all saw him have Monday night, and that guy walked out of the hospital with his kids.
With his kids.
Yeah.
He got hit
how
going
fantastic! 200 miles an hour
Correct.
upside down.
You could see the car buckle when it hit him, and then to be on fire, sparks flying upside down, and the extrication there was a pretty lengthy one. So, that's a testament to SFI.
He was upside down afterwards because they had to get the car flipped over.
Correct.
It was just crazy.
And he walked out of the hospital today with his kids.
But to think, not 30 years ago, my dad was pulling with no helmet, no roll cage, But again, like Craig said, the amount of power we're making is 100-fold.
We have roll
what
cages
it used
now.
To be.
I was sitting at Fort Recovery at 300 foot when Walsh's tractor went by me, probably running 55 mile an hour. And you know what? Thank goodness, of all the tractors that had to happen to, they had a roll cage on that tractor.
Yep.
Yeah,
the only mod tractor probably did. And guess what? We all went home.
Tractor pulling.
We all went home.
Yes.
Yep. We all went home, put roll cages on that summer, that winter. So.
You had the situation just the year prior with the Rose family, with their tractor, and then it's just amazing what the little pieces that back then they kind of squeaked by.
Yep.
And then to get back into it now, back into almost that's the original Irish Challenger, right? That they have, or is it? I forget.
Excuse
it's
me.
very close.
It's the gearbox.
It's the gear. Okay.
It's the gearbox. The one that they purchased, Simon's.
Yep.
That is one that has their original gearbox in it. Okay, and that tractor was actually built by Joe Ader and Bill Lashner. It was a team deal, and then Simon's ended up with that, and then they sold it back to Walsh's. The one that Walsh's had their name on last summer was actually
Larry
Roberts. That is correct. So, but
it's just motorsports. There's always going to be things because you guys are pushing your vehicles to the limit.
We are.
And we're seeing now in the pro stock class with having put blankets on the turbos,
Sure.
and even just the smaller diesel classes putting, because those turbos are being pushed to the limit.
They are.
Yes.
Even the small class, even the super farm class.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody's trying to get the most out of everything. That's how.
Well, we all dyno, right? So we all go. So we can find. Used to everybody played it safe. Well, there's a lot on the line, and especially Louisville. I mean, how much prestige everybody. I mean, that's why we're still overwhelmed. It's like, man, we want to win Louisville, and
Yeah.
and so you push it. You push it.
Caden's asking, Caden, we had to put straps on they're called tethers for Saturday night. So after that happened on Wednesday, we did have to go ahead and do that in order to pull on Saturday night. And I can't speak for PPL, but I'm sure they'll be on top of it.
Yeah.
But
They'll follow the same.
yeah,
Correct.
NTPA has already Colin Ross. NTPA has already they've already changed the rule. It's been published that we'll have to have that before you can pass any tech. So, hi, Colin. What about me? Am I not your hero too? That's funny.
So for like Louisville week, obviously pulling down there, is there things though that you guys get to enjoy while being down there with the family?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
kind of your favorite things to do outside of getting the vehicle ready?
So before this year, we basically pulled the entire time we were there, especially when we had the
you're
two
going
trucks.
with the trucks.
Yeah.
We would go down Monday. We try to play the weather. We not only we get the tractor ready, but then we clean the rig all up, and it's nice to have our rig there, so you have somewhere you can get off your feet a little bit, and place to chill out. So we go Monday, and that makes for a long outing. But that's also, it's kind of a relief to pull into Louisville, because you've spent so much time. It's like,
It's kind of
man,
like,
we're here.
whew.
We're here, and because because I don't care what class you pull in. Inevitably, we're pullers. You are going to be till the last second you load that vehicle in the trailer, getting that thing ready. I don't care how long you plan, how many months you spent. You will be to the last second, and sure enough, we were. But so we clean the rig all up, and we go down there and we try to play the weather and try to drive on good roads, and we get there. So we try to go down and then enjoy Monday night. And so for us with the tractor this year and the trucks prior, you're putting a truck in Tuesday, so you got to get parked and then unloaded and inside and weighed and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So we try to, and it's business. Like Wednesday morning, it's time to go.
Absolutely.
You got to be out there early and get teched. So we try to have a good time Monday night, knowing and like Ash said, for the trucks, we would get a truck in on Tuesday. Well, then we're getting two trucks in on Thursday morning, and so it was and luckily
A lot of work.
being
Yes.
lucky enough to make the finals, then it's on ongoing, which is a great thing. We're going to go to Louisville. We're going to have a blast, but we want to pull.
Yeah.
We want to pull. So we're going to do all we can to do that.
Yeah, so to answer your question, we do try to spend a little time. A lot of times our kids can't go. They've got sports and little ones. It's just tough to be in Broadbent that much, and so on and so forth. So it's a nice outing for Craig and I to have just a little bit of time, and so we can give a little shout out to our buddy Mike at Stooges. We have kind of a Monday night tradition. We go to this place that's fantastic. Have a few drinks. They have amazing food. People kind of meet up there, and then Tuesday it's game on. And from there, I would say the most fun part of it is that everyone's there together. People go over and have lunch at the Cardinal and hang out, or you're hanging out in Broadbent catching up with people, and then of course be at the poll. And
Yeah, we're fans too.
yeah,
Yes.
we go and,
we're
and
fans
watch
too.
the
We
poll
want
just
to
the same.
watch pulling.
Yep.
And we know, when probably 75-80% of the guys going down the track, you're rooting for everybody
Yep.
else,
Yep.
and so it is fun. The whole thing is fun. It's a blast.
Usually about Saturday noon, I'm like, man, it's almost over.
It's like, dang, where's this week gone?
Yeah,
Where's
Every
this
year.
week gone?
It's
Every year.
and
Every year.
it really is.
And it was nice, really, of course, still being on a high Sunday driving home. But it was beautiful. My goodness, it was beautiful weather, because it always seems like there's a little hiccup in the weather on a Sunday driving home for whatever reason.
That hiccup was when we were trying to get from Broadbent to Freedom Hall with the tractor on Wednesday night, and it was pouring.
Yeah.
So we got it out of the way early, I guess, this year.
Yeah. And, what's that feeling like during driver introductions?
Oh, man.
At Louisville, and especially this year, they kind of ramped it up a little
Oh,
bit.
shoot. They did so
Yeah,
good. We're AC/DC fans. I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah.
We're kind of adrenaline junkies.
Yep.
Again, how can you not be and be involved in this sport? even me this year as not being a driver, on Saturday night, Craig was out there. He did his intro and so on and so forth. I still got goosebumps during Lee Greenwood. I still got goosebumps during the national anthem. And the coolest thing to me was the little deal that they did this year with Brett. He was already hooked up, and a little bit behind the scenes, hopefully the Louisville guys don't get mad at me, but they were so prepared that they played that Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, and they had it timed just right, where one of the guys in the red jumpsuit had a timer, and the lights came on, and Brett's guy fired the engine. I mean, it was a production.
Yeah.
It was an actual show. And if you didn't get goosebumps or get moved a little bit in that moment, then you may not have a pulse.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought that was, it was really nice to see them and do those upgrades to the facility, which has probably been lacking for a little while, but to actually make that, this is, like it said, the Super Bowl polling, and to get not only you guys fired up, but the fans,
it is
going.
Sure.
Well, and before I ever drove on the track down there, it was always like, well, we got a few minutes before we get in and stuff. But once you've been down on that track when Lee Greenwood's singing and the national anthem,
my 50th, he was actually there.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that. It's like it does. It Ash is right. It literally gives you goosebumps. You get pumped up, ready to go.
Yes, I mean it. I hope the fans can get a little bit of the feeling that we get.
Yeah.
That adrenaline rush out of it
and
all.
I have to say, I love watching you when he's polling, because when he has a great run. No, I think it's great, because that's what I think the sports needs, is because it really helps to get the crowd really even get going. And it's the same with Ken Venny and his wife.
Sure.
What she has done when she used to run down the track, because everyone knew, and the crowd would just get going. They get up on their feet.
I've been criticized for that as well. I don't get on the message boards too often anymore, because a lot of times you get picked on or whatever.
Sure.
So I've been criticized for that as well. But truthfully, that is not a show for me. That is reaction. Because I truly am that invested. For me to see Craig put it in the sand pile, you darn right I lost my mind. I mean, we've spent months preparing. He's had cold dinners and not had dinners with the kids, or I've taken stuff to the shop. The kids have had to sit in the toter while we fired the tractor. We've sacrificed a lot to get to that point. So it comes out of
invested,
me.
and we're emotional.
Absolutely.
And you try to. Part of what we do is we get so much enjoyment out of what we're doing. But you want to bring along everybody with you too.
Yeah.
You want to share that with people. It's like, not everybody can be lucky enough to sit on the seat of that pulling vehicle. But one of the best videos I saw, I always like to watch video when a vehicle's coming at you at a little bit of an angle. But I was at home watching some of the videos of our run, and Wednesday night when we hit the sand pile, some of our friends took a video and the tractor went by, and we hit the sand. And all these people in front just stood up, and that made me feel good. It's like we are sharing that moment a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you feel it from the seat,
you
too.
Do.
You can see people like standing up and cheering, and you're affecting them too, and it feels good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, fans, obviously we're pulling fans, but we want to be entertained in a way, and that's what really gets the crowd going. Then with the lights now, this last year with the flickering, kind of like if you had a touchdown, or at the football game, and I just, I love seeing that. I wish more pullers, I think maybe they feel like they're showboating, but I don't think at all.
That's what I've been accused of, and I don't care though.
But I personally, I think that's what, when I'm just sitting back watching the fans' reactions, and, they don't know you guys, they might not know you guys at all, but they're up there cheering, or the kids, that's what really gets the kids going, and especially, freedom, being indoors, you really get that echo.
Yes.
But like you said, at Bowling Green, especially when you get a full pull, and you can hear all 30,000 people there going crazy.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
it's awesome.
You brought up the kids, and that was always something that was super important to my dad. Obviously the Make-A-Wish thing, but he always said that take time to talk to those little kids, because they might be you someday, and or they're going to bring their parents kids want to come, their parents will bring them.
Yep.
And that excitement coming from them, it transfers over to us. It keeps us coming back. And, you know, there are times when we have spent a lot of money, we've gotten not a lot of sleep, and we're bickering at each other.
Not every pull turns out like Louisville.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
no, they're not all fairy
as
tales.
much as we would like to sit here and say, man, we go out and make really nice runs. No, things happen. Things happen, and
Yep.
you have a bad
Typically
run.
to me, he has a little better luck than me.
I don't know about that, but you know, so when that you don't have that good outing, and then those little kids come up and just looking at it, it's like, you know, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Life is good. Life
And
is good.
I also, you know, that I want to teach my kids that same thing. It's okay to be passionate about something and go get it, you know, and work hard to get it. And everybody in pulling works hard in their own way, their own degree. But what I know is what we do at home. And when something like this past week happens, all of that all of a sudden becomes worthwhile. All those months and all the time and the things you miss out on. You know, I've missed weddings, some of my best friends' weddings. I've missed a cousin getting married. I've missed a baby being born. Our nephew was born a couple years ago when we were in Louisville, and we flew home to go see him. You know, it's a lot, and there's a lot of emotion, and it's not just about the pulling. It's everything. It's all encompassed. It's our family. It's our best friends. I mean, it's what we do as a family.
Mm-hmm. So. That's why I think when you guys have the runs that you guys did have this last weekend, it's definitely okay to show some motion, because the next week something minor could go wrong on the engine. And
exactly.
I've told more people the last few days that was probably a once in a lifetime week. Mm-hmm. The chances of that happening are so minute that we enjoy the wins, because you don't know, they are hard to come by. I don't care if it's a 2-wheel drive, a mod, a pro stock, what it is, and that's the thing, you know. Once you get a little taste of it, you're like, oh man, it drives you.
It sure does.
Did you catch the question, like, when you guys are watching, do you have a favorite class outside of, like, 2-wheel drives or mods that you kind of...
I personally like something different about all of them. There are times that I can sit and watch an entire class of the diesel 4-wheel drive trucks. There's times when we always watch the minis. We always watch the 2-wheel drives because we've become such good friends with a lot of those people. Some of our great friends have diesel super stocks. Some of our pro stocks. All of the things. Pulling in general just kind of gets it gets me in the heart. So
I'm picky. I'm not gonna lie.
You are?
I'm pretty picky about what I watch, because I guess I don't get wrapped up in what class it is, but I like to know what's going on. I like to know what's under the hood of that John Deere or red tractor or whatever, or on that mod tractor or in that 2-wheel drive. That's what I get wrapped up in. And so there's classes I don't know anything about, and I'm okay with not watching them. But if it's something that I know, like the pro stocks, I didn't know anything about pro stocks, but Darren Hunt's a great friend, and the littles aren't far away, and
you're learning.
So I've learned a lot. Heck, we helped Brandon hunt at Fort Recovery a couple years ago,
and he won.
And Colin's a good friend, and so we've learned Blade Race. I mean, my goodness, we know
Profabs, Larry and Lisa Peterson,
Slavox. I mean, I didn't really watch 4-wheel drives very much until I knew Larry and Lisa pretty well. And that really, I'm like, okay, so, and Larry explained, I'm like, hey, Larry, so what's going on with this truck, and why'd that front end chatter? And so once you know, or have a little bit of mechanical understanding of what's going on, it's like, hey, so it's like, oh, I see what you did on that gear. I see what you did on those tires. That's what gets me really into the class, I guess.
I just like this. I enjoy the social part of it. I like to be able to sit there and cheer on my friends and hang out in the stands and kind of come down from the adrenaline side of it, especially as a driver. I think everyone knows I get a little bit wound up. I pace around. Sometimes I might yell. It just depends. Like I said, I get really really high adrenaline.
Well, a couple years ago when you were in the corner there, like the first or second, or like you were really early in the class, right?
Yep.
Third hook.
Third hook, and then you had to sit there and watch.
Yes.
And watch
That
and watch.
is...
Yes, I actually sat the year that I won 2 years ago down at Farm Show. I went behind my truck with the fire marshal and told him to keep his fire extinguisher handy because I might light on fire at any moment. And I literally could not watch. I couldn't. When Lisa ran right after me and she was like this far behind me, that was it. I couldn't handle it. I had to sit back there.
I tell you, they make the term that it looks like missiles coming at you. Boy, it does.
Really
when
feels
you
like
were in
it.
that corner in Freedom Hall, my goodness, it's like, ooh, they're coming like, okay, we dodged one, you know.
Yeah.
And then like last year, I mean, we made an unbelievable run with the red truck, second to last hook, you know, and took the lead by ways. And I'm thinking, man, I'm pretty good shit, but there's one left. And sure enough, Cole got us.
You can't write Cole's eye check.
There's nobody can ride off in the two-wheel drive truck, or any class at a
There wouldn't be there.
Yeah, they would not be there.
That's right.
They're there
right.
for a reason.
That's right. So, yeah, it doesn't matter the class. Anybody can win at any time.
Did you see Jeremy Nelson's comment?
I did. Jeremy, we love you. Illinois Mafia.
Well,
no, I was really happy for them as a family after last
year was
John,
horrible.
And then Dale's fire.
Yeah, to see Dale win in the prelims.
Phenomenal.
John Card and I stood
And then Bethany having an awesome
Yep.
run.
Yeah, John Card and I stood and talked by Jeremy's truck after Dale had won. And we had won Wednesday night, so now they had won Thursday night. And we talked about the healing process. And I know John, Misty's dad, John, was tough on John Card. They were really close friends. And obviously Jeremy being one of my best friends, it was tough. It's been a tough year. And things like this help. You know, it does let you a little bit of that. Yeah, we're opening that next chapter, and that's really for me probably the biggest thing with this tractor with 3 engines. Yeah, this was a big chapter we turned the page on, and so it does help. You know, with losing father-in-law, and so.
I think personally that this year was a good way to kind of, like Craig said, it is kind of like turning that page a little bit, but still honoring what is the reason we are where we are. You know, Misty wouldn't be a puller if it wasn't for her dad. Jeremy and Misty wouldn't be together. You know, I wouldn't be a puller.
Yeah.
Craig and I wouldn't be, you know, if we didn't have my dad, John, you know, and
I feel like 2019 put a lot of things in perspective. And we know Randy Petro is going through a real hard time, and we've been praying for him. And I saw Jesse at lunch. Got lucky enough to catch him at lunch Friday before we ran.
There was a lot of emotions going through the tour.
You bet.
Class.
And shook his hand.
Highs and lows.
And I was probably as happy for Jesse as I've been for anybody. I mean, just a lot of things are going. Louisville this year
fierce
was
competitors, you know, and to see him do, you know, sweep the week too with his dad's truck. I mean,
and Friday night, how emotional he got.
That was
and,
understandable.
And I get that. Yeah. I mean, I 100% understand.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, as a puller, to watch, and we kind of did it by accident Saturday night since Longs had their misfortune and couldn't run, and Ricky Rose also, but to be last hook and win, I'm telling you, that's a walk off. That is like literally hitting that grand slam in the bottom of the ninth to win, and it's an unbelievable feeling.
It sure is. It sure is. A minute ago, someone asked what we do for a living. I recently just took over. My mom still owns the company, but I took over what Dad and I did together. We own a trucking brokerage, so I do that from our home office. Broker loads for all. I do only big in dumps, semis over the road. Take care of. Matter of fact, I got to in Louisville. Got to hang out with several of my favorite customers, so that was awesome. And then Craig is a farmer.
I'm lucky enough to farm, be 6th generation farming, so I'm just reaping the benefits, maybe for lack of a better term, for all my ancestors before me. But we're trying to build for the future, for the generations ahead. And of course, then everything we do with Shell is this pulling thing for us went from a hobby, from us gathering parts and doing the truck thing, that it's a business. I mean, it's a secondary business. We've done some stuff for other people, you know, and helped and bought and sold. Like last year, all the trucks went different directions. looking to maybe do some more of that down the road.
It was fun to see the Don Nelson there with Craig's truck from last year.
Right, and of course the Flemings out in Iowa with our other 2 trucks.
They did
and they
really
had
well
a good
this
year.
past summer.
And of course we couldn't be where we were without Shell Rotella, but that's a job. So we were just in Dallas with Larry's the Footloose mini rod 3 weeks ago, doing a display down there for O'Reilly's. And there's more of that coming. We've always got displays to do. We're doing some appearances on the way to pulls this summer. We're kind of working through that schedule now.
Yeah.
Farm Progress Show is one that we're usually at, which is either in Decatur, Illinois, in our back door, or up in Iowa.
And
So
Dad always would have been in California at Tulare, California, for the other huge farm show.
World Ag Expo.
The same exact time as Louisville.
Okay.
So he never saw me pull there. He saw you pull one year, I believe.
He did 1 year. He didn't go, and he was there.
Yep.
He brought the motor home over and stayed.
Had a big time.
Yeah, you want to just quickly talk about your partnership with Shell?
Oh,
Rotella,
sure.
and
Absolutely.
I mean, you guys have been partnered for a long time.
Absolutely.
We got really lucky.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
We got really lucky that year. We won the ring at Bowling Green. It was in the afternoon, and it just so happened that the president of Shell North America happened to be there to watch us win. And it was like we talked about, a walk-off. We were in the pull-off and literally burned in, last truck in the pull-off, and we went by Randy Petro to win. And the truck literally sat there in its holes, and everybody came out on the track. Everybody was out on the track.
We literally had 40 people on the track with us.
And of course, our father-in-law helped get that, orchestrate that, and get that going for us.
We rode his coattails without a question. Without a question.
So, but now it's our thing, and everybody's trying to figure out what the next chapter is there, and so is Adam and Ash's mom, Caesar. So that's why we took the Mini to Dallas. We're all working together because Shell's such a wonderful company. I've never met anybody in Shell that I wouldn't have drinking beer and eating steak at my kitchen table. I mean, they are fantastic people. They truly are genuine.
But they're real people.
They're family. It's like a whole nother set of family, and it's a blast to go do those displays because we have to hang out with them. No pressure, right? So I tell a lot of people that tractor can look really pretty sitting in our shop, or it can look pretty in front of a bunch of people, and we can go have fun and hang out. So it's all good.
And with Jason, we got to take the tractor down to the Mid-South Farm Show.
Yeah.
And they don't get to experience that level of pulling very often. So just explaining what the tractor's like. I'm sure it's the same when you get to go to the Shell corporate meeting like that, explaining how this vehicle works, because they might see it on TV, but to see it in person is a whole different.
Well, they don't know pulling, and there's been a lot of people with Shell that have come to Toma or Bowling Green. They don't even know what tractor pull is. All they know is there's the Corzines and the Kesters that they are spending money with. And they have to justify it. We have to help them, right? That's why they have us there. But they come to a pull, and they're like, wow, we had no idea. They can relate to NASCAR some, and drag racing some, or even some other kind of a dirt track. But mostly, they've never been to a pull. And we've never had one come to a pull that didn't say, I can't wait to come to the next one. When's the next one? We're coming back. And it is an eye-opener, because it's corporate America. It's a whole different deal. But
the thing that works though with the pulling, for the Shell folks, is that we deal a lot with like grassroots. They're grassroots people. They're customers that maybe can't necessarily afford to go to a NASCAR race every weekend, but they can go to their county fair. And
they can walk up and see the driver, and they can bring their little one and put their little one in the seat.
They can come right up to us and talk to us, and that hands-on, being able to talk to, if you want to walk up and ask, so what is Shell Rotella gas truck? And Craig and I can explain that to you. We are accessible, and they really like that.
Well, you guys have become brand ambassadors for them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, absolutely.
Yep, Adam and Dad even, they went down and they went through and learned how the oil was even
all the blending,
and Craig and I would like to do that at some point too. But over the years, we've learned a lot about the oil, and we actually do run it in the tractor.
Because they went down and went through the whole refining process and the blending process. they met with engineers down there, and they came up with a formulation that we are now running. I mean, that was, what, 10 years ago probably?
Mm-hmm.
They came up with this formulation and it's fantastic. They said, look, we need, and most people may not know this about the alcohol tractors, we don't break the oil down. We contaminate it more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to protect our parts, so that methanol that gets into the oil has got to be able to disperse within the oil. It can't pool, or the pump gets a hold of it and sends into a bearing. But so we have to protect our parts,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to mix and blend that methanol into the oil as well. So it's not just throwing any oil in the tractor, but
Mm-hmm.
it truly is something that because Adam and Larry went down there, they came up with this formulation, and it's fantastic. And more, but we didn't want to just say, hey, put that in your tractor, because that's now our name's on the line too.
Yep.
So now we can say, yes, guys, we are running this oil in our and brother-in-law is an engine builder. He's got guys walking in his shop, and he's like, look, this is Brand X, this is the Shell Rotella stuff out of our engines, out of their engines, out of Steve's engines, any of his customers and that are running it, and there's a difference. There is. It truly is good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. So I had a question for you guys came on. It's not Facebook related, but do you guys? I was asked why the two-wheel drive trucks and the mods get to drive onto the track. Do you know the reason why? Versus for you guys, is it easier to start the engines in the pits versus if you had to start
Yes.
them on in front of the sled?
I've never thought about that.
No, this was a question.
Yeah,
I think I might have a good answer
Sure.
for that. The two-wheel drives, the mods, the minis, any of those vehicles require something else to start them.
Yep.
So we have to have a battery pack, basically. That's why we have a Gator. It's got a bunch of batteries in the back of it, and it runs the big starter that literally sticks on the front of the supercharger, and it rolls the engine over. Those vehicles, like our tractor, a mini, a two-wheel drive, do not have their own starter on them. Most of them don't. A few people do, but usually they save that for weight. The Pros, the Supers, all of those, well, for one, indoors, for one thing, it's because of the smoke. But all of those can fire themselves. Now, occasionally, well, more than occasionally, but a lot of times they need someone to spray ether, but the tractor is not self-contained. It needs the support vehicle in order to fire it. So I think that's why we get.
And a lot of it's the weight.
Sure.
A lot of it's the weight. We can't afford. I mean, we're scrapping for every pound on these vehicles going front. Two-wheel drives, even at Louisville, we're scrapping to get everything we can.
Could it be possibly? I think what they were wondering is, now you guys are running in the excess fuel going into they were just wondering if that's ever been considered. And starting it where they backed you in, and then starting it after. I'm just curious.
And so it's a time factor.
Yeah.
So they can still, yes. So let's say our tractor. We start the first one, and then we have to start the other two, right? So there's a time factor there.
Yeah.
Well, that's going on. Those guys they're like clockwork. Like Ash said, they're on it. Whether it's
the sled is still backing up when we fired the first.
Those guys
engine.
are still out there prepping the track. So that can all be going on. Versus if they were to drag us out there, push us back, and all that starting process hooked to the sled. It would be a time factor.
Okay.
And we like to put a little heat in the engines.
Sure.
We warm them up beforehand, but we need to put a little heat back in them so that way we burn the fuel, right, and the oil gets a little heat in it so everything gets lubed up like it should.
Yep.
So, makes the show better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And before we end it, why don't you kind of bring the trophy, just so everyone can see. This is what if you win Friday night, Saturday night from the show. It's and explain to everyone the 3 trophies that you allow in your house.
So
we are blessed enough to have.
We are blessed enough that we have 2. I won a couple years ago for the 50th championship hole. And Craig won this year, and last year he got second with the red truck. So, literally, I don't allow him to bring all of the trophies in the house. We have a couple in there, some special ones. But for the most part, that's kind of like the pulling shop thing. The trophies kind of go where the tractor is. But
so these go in the
house,
front room.
And they're in.
Now now there's some other ones that are in where I put my shoes on, the mudroom, where I put my shoes on every morning. I get to sit there and look at the trophy case that has quite a few other ones. we've been
my very first win, your very first win.
Right, and you know, a good friend Jared Little. They used to do the hammer down truck and tractor pull there at Champaign. We were blessed enough to get that one a couple times.
I got my first win there.
And Ash's very first win. So of course our bowling rings are there, and so yeah, we've got some special ones. And it's everybody asks you know, what's the best pull you've ever won, and that's pretty hard to say because we've been really, really, really.
I need to pick
lucky.
3 on that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky enough to win the Enderley with the truck and the tractor, and we've been lucky enough to do unbelievably well at Louisville. And
my first Grand National was at Ionia. I loved that.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's so many different emotions and backstories for each win.
That
that third place
exactly
at Chapel
right.
Hill that we talked about earlier, after I stank it up like terribly, and the next night got back in the pull off. That third place is really special to me. I mean, there's some 6th, 7th, 8th place finishes that felt great.
Yeah.
You know, every pull has its own special thing.
Especially if you have 70 vehicles in the class. If you can get top 10.
Exactly.
You know, at a Bowling Green or Toma or wherever.
Right.
And
when you have all those together.
Absolutely.
And even at that, you know, even when we had the 2-wheel drive trucks and we would go state pulling, you're running against 7 other Grand National champions. Jeremy has a title, John had a title, Bethany's won, Jared's won, Mark and Jamie Austin. I mean, seriously, no matter what you do, Dale Nelson. I mean, no matter where we went with those trucks, it was constant. You couldn't.
But that made us better.
It did make us better.
That really led to our success in the 2-wheel drive class because everywhere we went, it was a Grand National level event, and it helped us make us better pullers.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Anything else you guys like to add? I just want to thank you again for taking some time.
Oh, you bet.
This has been months in the making, folks. Just schedule-wise between the basketball with your daughters and just figuring out So I really appreciate you guys.
We're
we're
a little bit like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Because we got home Sunday and put the tractor in her spot, and then the girls had their sectional game and they didn't turn out as well as we liked, and they lost Monday night. So now it's like, wow. Luckily for us, our Central A&M boys are a very talented group, and they're getting ready to start their tournament run, which we hope leads to Peoria. So, but
Julia, our number 2, is still playing volleyball, club volleyball. Number 3 is still playing basketball that Craig coaches. Number 4 keeps us on our toes and doesn't have to play any sports. And then softball will start up soon. I mean,
field work is going to be around the corner.
Yeah. So
before we know it.
Before you know it, hopefully.
Yes.
hopefully,
A little bit
for
sooner.
everybody.
Hopefully, a little bit sooner than it was this last spring.
But we always do try to make sure, deals like this to thank the fans. I mean, obviously, we could not do what we're doing without all of you out there, and of course our families. I mean, that's why we do this. And
Absolutely.
we always say, I grew up showing cattle, and it really wasn't any different because we did it as a family. And I think it's really important that whatever your thing is, you do that together. And we are just lucky enough that pulling happens to be our thing. So we do. And our kids were mad that they weren't at Louisville, so they got out of their basketball practice and they flew down Saturday. Got down there.
the older 2, their mom brought them, and it was fantastic. I mean, on my end, I think I need to reach out and just say a huge thank you, because as everybody knows, this was probably the worst year of my life, with the passing of my dad unexpectedly at Chapel Hill. But I want everybody to know that pulling has been healing for us. It's been good for my mom. It's been good for my brother. It's been wonderful for me and my family. Craig, we right before we left, Craig surprised me. And they showed this on the Louisville video, and I've mentioned it also on our Facebook page, but anyone that knew my dad knew the back of Footloose always said, you don't need feet to kick butt. And right before we left, Craig's Valentine present to me was he had the back panel of the tractor redone. And it says, you don't need feet to kick butt, just wings, in memory of my dad. And I truthfully believe that Dad got us involved in pulling because it is so positive. There's so much good to be had, not just in going down the track, But the whole thing about it, and that's just that was everything he encompassed. If he were here right now, he would tell us to keep going, work harder, keep going, push harder, go farther, go faster, and that's what we've done. But mainly because we've had so much support from our pulling friends, our pulling family, and our fans. The ones that come up and tell us the stories. Every person he touched, and that has helped tremendously in these past 7 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely, and of course we'll be seeing you on the Grand National Circuit with the Light Unlimiteds. And then how many times are you expecting to put that third motor on?
Well, I just signed the contract this morning for Mod and Light Unlimited, so we are going to run the full circuit for both, actually.
So you'll be
We're gonna try.
Yeah, we'll try. Yeah,
We're gonna try.
Our
intention as we are today is lucky enough for us, the mod thing is a really good schedule for us. We were going to Tolman Bowling Green anyway, Sandwich, Illinois, Hoopston, Illinois. So right there's 8 of the 10. So the only place we may or may not have been going to was Rockwell. Well, that's not bad for us. We're lucky to be right here in a place where we can get to pulls not too bad. So we're going to do that. The New York thing might be a little tough, but if the farming goes closer to normal, hopefully that should be doable, and we should be able to make both work.
I joked all week that I guess I have to let him drive a little more after he proved that he's clearly capable. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely.
Blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe twice on Wednesday night and Saturday night.
Yeah. We're really blessed. We're blessed to have a vehicle we both can drive, and I'm not ready to give up driving yet. He doesn't need to by any means. So I think it'll be a really good fit for us, and
hope so. We're
see. Excited about it.
Stay tuned.
Yes, so absolutely. So
ask me again in 5 months.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I'll ask you after the first session of Tomo, right?
Bingo.
Yes.
Because we know the highest of highs can go to the lowest lows like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. No, and that's just the way pulling
is.
You can dyno all you want, but it really counts on the track.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
So again, thank you guys so
bet.
much.
Thank you for
having us.
And thanks you guys for joining us on a Wednesday night.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you guys all next Monday night right here on the Beer Money Pulling Team Facebook page and Let's Grow Pulling.